Tonight on Q2, inside the aftermath.
The detention ponds were a major factor in preventing flooding that would have happened yesterday.
We'll check in on a troublesome underpass, seeing how it managed after yesterday's rainfall. This while restoration companies were on the ready to answer all calls.
We are probably around 25-ish, somewhere in there.
Plus, graduation day.
It's a really long road to get into medical school. This is something that I've been basically planning on since I was roughly about 5 or 6.
7 students make school history in Billings as they look to solve a growing problem. And a new school in an old community gathering place.
We are just going to start with one classroom in here, but the music classroom will be in the sanctuary.
The MTN 530 News starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 530 News.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Russ Riesinger. What a difference a day makes. This was the scene yesterday as torrential rain flooded the 13th Street underpass, forcing it to close. But tonight we're asking, how did a historically troublesome spot, the 6th Street underpass, hold up after recent construction was done to try and fix that issue? With that answer and a look at crazy cleanup underway today in the wake of that storm, here's Kelsey Boggs.
The Billings Airport measured 2.02 inches of rainfall on Thursday, making it the 17th wettest day in 90 years of record keeping. That rain caused major issues throughout town, flooding roadways, basements, and underpasses.
Yesterday's storm was unique.
Historically, if there's flooding in Billings, the 6th Street underpass is the first sign of trouble. The underpass suddenly became a lake, cars stalled and stranded in deep water. But during Thursday's spring storm,
We had new improvements in the storm drain systems, new pumps installed.
a welcome surprise. For the first time in as long as most can remember, no major issues were reported, thanks to the Montana Department of Transportation and Dow's underpass project that began last year.
The detention ponds were a major factor in preventing flooding that would have happened yesterday for sure if we didn't make any improvements to this project.
This is a heavily trafficked area of Billings, as we all know, and working on a project with so many moving pieces and a pretty significant upgrade to the stormwater system was really impactful.
But not all news is good news. The North 13th Street underpass is a sharp contrast. It had to be shut down Thursday after 24 inches of water pooled, disabling one vehicle. And on the residential side of things, companies like Alpha Omega Disaster Restoration have been busy all day.
One of the biggest things is to get the standing water out.
Although project manager Jordan Kroll says this storm wasn't on the scale of what we saw last June, when nearly all restoration companies had to start waiting lists.
It certainly was not as bad as it was last year.
The company currently has around 25 active projects, mostly for leaking roofs.
Anytime you have a roof leak, you want to look at the insulation in your attic and make sure that it's not compressed and soaking wet.
And flooded window wells. Kroll had advice for those worried about the next flood event.
A lot of the time, rainwater is out of pocket. Insurance won't cover that. So I highly encourage everybody to look into their insurance policy and see if that's something that's going to be covered or not.
In Billings, Kelsey Boggs, MTN News.
Well, that storm is gone now, but will rain return this Memorial Day weekend? Meteorologist Jason Stiff has a first check on the weather and your weekend forecast. Jason?
It's easy to see why we had so many localized problems with all that rain that we had yesterday. Almost too much of a good thing, with many locations receiving between 2 and almost 5 inches of rain. Park City, look at that, 4.88 inches. Now, around the Billings area, had a lot of reports of over 3 inches itself. At the airport, we had a record-breaking 2.02 inches of rain yesterday. Broke a record from 6 years ago. And we still have showers and thunderstorms lingering over mainly north central, northeastern, and east central Montana. Isolated thunderstorms between Glasgow and Sydney right now, and we will have more potential for some active weather both Saturday and Sunday. We're not completely free of it yet, but it will not be the extent that we had yesterday. Our complete 7-day forecast, including the Memorial Day weekend, coming up.
If you're planning to head up to Cook City on the Beartooth Highway this weekend, think again. The traditional Memorial Day weekend opening of the iconic highway will be delayed. Crews were up bright and early this morning making significant progress on the snow and ice. So much so that the Montana section, lower gate to Vista Point, is now open for travel. The Wyoming side has proven to be a little more troubling, though, and that work won't be finished until Monday at the earliest, which means for now you can only reach Vista Point. The 16-year-old accused of shooting and killing a Rocky Mountain College football player will be tried as an adult. Sidney DeCrane Jr. is accused of shooting Chandler Stalcup in the head last October as he was driving away from a late-night house party. Stalcup had showed up at that party to pick up friends when a fight broke out. DeCrane and the driver of the vehicle, 17-year-old Garrett Dorr, are accused of following Stalcup's car as it left the party, eventually shooting him in the 900 block of Poly Drive. Dorr is facing a charge of deliberate homicide by accountability and also will be charged as an adult. Making history, Montana's first and only medical school celebrated its first class of graduates today. 7 students at Rocky Vista University received their master's in medical science. Our Marcus Kakova spoke with the students and faculty about how this education will be applied right here in our state.
With just over 1 million people, Montana remains in need.
This is the graduation ceremony for the Rocky Vista University Montana College of Osteopathic Medicine inaugural Masters in Medical Sciences program graduation.
The only thing longer than the name of today's event is the journey these future doctors are on to solving our state's need for practitioners.
Many of these students will stay in Montana. They'll do their residencies here.
If you look at where most residents, those individuals who are in their post-medical school training, where they go, it's wherever they do their residency.
Master's graduate Joshua Soriano is a veteran from Deer Lodge.
I joined the military and became a hospital corpsman out of high school, so I served 5 years with a deployment to Afghanistan.
He knows well that all 56 counties in Montana are considered health professional shortage areas.
Our access to medical care was subpar at best. Growing up, I don't think I ever saw the same physician more than once.
In its first year of the program, Rocky Vista has also sought talent from outside our state.
I come from Brazil, so my area was really underserved, and I saw many challenges with people looking for health care.
Bianca McRavy's background with healthcare shortage is seen as caused by too many people as opposed to too few.
We have so many challenges in looking for health care, especially the poor population where my demographics is from.
Once continents apart, the two graduates look ahead to the same goal.
I'm honestly looking forward to helping people.
It's just good to be able to know that I can still provide service to a population that still needs help.
Marcus Kakova, 2024. MTN News.
Speaking of graduation day, Billings Public Schools will hold their high school graduations on Sunday, all at the Metro. West High is first to go from 10 until noon. Skyview follows from 2 until 4 in the afternoon, with seniors celebrating from 6 until 8. Central will also hold its graduation that day, beginning at 6 p.m. at the high school. New school has made its way to Joliet, and it's housed in a familiar spot, a historic community church built back in 1909. As our David J. explains, leaders are thankful for the school to have a home as they look to bring back a lost form of education.
This is the balcony at Joliet Christian Church. These are some of the original pews that were here when the church was built in the early 1900s. Membership has gone down through the years, so it was decided to give the church building over to the Yellowstone Classical Christian Academy. Virginia Steen Rains has been a music teacher for almost 50 years, and music will be a key part of the curriculum at the new school set to open next fall.
We'll be singing every day. Music is a big part of classical education.
The Christian school will operate under a classical curriculum model supported by many faith-based schools. Students here will learn Latin and study classic literature with a focus on developing skills to include grammar, logic, and rhetoric.
We believe everyone has the potential to be able to think and to discern on their own. We're not just raising workers, we're raising people that can think and be great members of their community.
The building itself is a fitting setting. The Victorian-style church was built in 1909 and is on the National Register of Historic Places.
The current congregation, which was 7 or 8 people, wanted to honor that history and that memory.
Already, families in Carbon County are showing interest. The school is expecting around 30 students initially, from kindergarten through 4th grade.
The Christian aspect is probably the main focus for our family, along with the classical.
Danielle Hall currently homeschools her 2nd grade daughter, but plans to enroll her here.
The rhetorical side of things, it teaches these kids more of how to think and problem solve rather than what to think and problem solve.
And it's stories like that that excite music teacher Virginia Steen Rains, who is already giving her first lessons on this piano, which has been here since the church first started. A church now set to become a school, but one still connected to its roots.
Wednesday is chapel day.
As it begins its next chapter as a place for both prayer and now Christian education.
My wife and myself, we've been here for over 40 years. We raised our kids in this church. It's kind of like the phoenix from the ashes to see the possibility of the ministries that started in this church to continue.
In Joliet, David J., MTN News.
Well, still to come on the MTN 530 News here on Q2, Inside the Blue Box. A free lending library comes to Bench Elementary as they look to keep kids reading this summer. And later, state track kicks off across the state with several athletes chasing titles and records. We'll have highlights in just a bit.